So I'm going to start part 3 with just behind the Isaac Synagogue where we just were. This used to be a kosher falafel place, but as you can see, it's not here any longer. Now it's a bunch of sort of food truck sort of issue kind of places, but anyway, you can see why Steven Spielberg picked this neighborhood for his movie, because there's it's very, very much like the way it looked in the 1930s and early 40s. Especially go back in time 30 years ago when it was just coming out of the Soviet era. It was much, less colorful even than it is now. So that's back at the end of the road here. Again, that's the old synagogue, the great synagogue, the big synagogue, and old historic buildings. You can see still remnants of that time with us. So I'm just gonna go back up the other direction. A couple interesting historic places, famous scenes were shot in Schindler's List in the other direction. But you get the idea. Just to look at this road is a good example of the historic buildings and why this was selected by Spielberg as the place to shoot, as opposed to the actual ghetto, which was largely demolished and rebuilt. And if you see one of my other videos, you'll see that it's much more modern. A lot of the buildings still standing, but it looks much different than this area here, which take away the cars and you can imagine it being 1942 here again. So even though there are not a lot of Jews in Poland, and those Jews that there are in Poland are largely in Warsaw and Krakow, there's a small and growing Jewish community, and many of the younger people are more of appreciation for the Jewish past and Jewish culture that meant so much to the Poles for such a long, Polish life for such a long time. Just walking on the street, again, these buildings, like I said, take you back to the early 1930s and 40s. It's sprinkled in, there's another nice little bar to the right, a restaurant bar. Coming up on our right is a hotel that I stayed in twice with the Mercer Group, once in 2016 and once in 2017. Not a bad hotel. Great location. This is the hotel that we stayed in, the Cepha 24. They've changed the name. There's no name on it now, but oh well. All right. Well, things change, right? This used to be Hotel Astoria. Now it looks like they changed it. But anyway, that's the hotel I've stayed in twice. No good air conditioning there. Windows open with no screens, so no bugs at nighttime. Again, old buildings. Got Yum Yum Vietnam. Then the Shalom Cafe Galleria. almost to 12 Josefa. This is Josefa Street, and 12 Josefa. We're coming up on the right up here is a very famous scene from Schindler's List when they were liquidating the ghetto in the movie. This alleyway up here is where Schindler shot the scenes when they're dumping out the clothes and dumping out. This is it here, if you can see. Famous in the stairway is, well, I'll get to that in a second, but this is the area where they're dumping out all the possessions of the Jews from the upstairs, downstairs, that the Nazis were finding them at nighttime and killing the inhabitants and taking their stuff and their suitcases and dumping them down here on the bottom landing. Earlier in that movie, an earlier scene also shot here, was a scene where the little girl and her mother were looking for a place to hide, and they were under a floor bed, and the little girl was there, and the mother couldn't go with her, so the mother started running down the steps by herself, and the little girl, who was going to hide and later be caught and killed, decided not to stay with the group and ran down the steps with her mother. Then came down the steps here, and the little boy, the little Judenrat boy, in the uniform, blew the whistle and saw them, and then he said, oh, and then they knew each other, and they said, I'll put you in the good line, because he liked the little girl. And this is the scene, this is the exact place where they ran down the steps, the little boy met the little girl, and this is where it was taken. Very memorable scene in the movie. But again, this whole area is 12 Josefa Street. Yeah, so lots of movie history, not so much history, but movie history in this area as well. And then a long time ago, in 2013, my first trip to Poland, I ate dinner over here one night. So, which looks like it's not even a restaurant anymore. Here it is. Yeah. So, to our right. That's a long time ago. And you can see there's some things here about the history of the neighborhood as well. And bikes and art and what this looked like back in the day. So I'll get closer so you can see this picture of this area. And up here, I think 33. So, all right. This to our right up here is a Jewish Cultural Center. I've been in this before. You know, both the Judaica Foundation and the Jewish Cultural Center have their seats here at the corner. It's here is the Jewish Cultural Center, Center for Jewish Culture, the Judaica Foundation have their seats here. Rabbi Maisel Street and Platz Nova Street. Platz Nova, we're going to that next. So looks like it's a little bit dilapidated from the last time I was here. There was no graffiti, and it looks like it's been a little bit less kept than it was before. But this has been refurbished, but I'm not sure how refurbished it is now. I'm not seeing it for a few years, but back before COVID, it looks like they still have festivals and things here. So even though the outside looks a little bit worse for wear, they're still having concerts and so forth. But you know, this area once served as the B'nai Emunah prayer house in the 19th century. And their motto was Vador Vador, from generation to generation in Hebrew. And they protected at the time. Their purpose today is to protect Jewish heritage, popularize Jewish heritage, do research about Jewish heritage. Every year they have shows, recitals, concerts, conferences, lots of things going on here every year. Yeah, this is Been doing this since 1996, it says. So, inside of both Jewish and Polish, but oftentimes both Jewish and Polish culture and heritage at this place. So mostly, again, the outside doesn't look so for wear, but I don't know. Over here is Platz Nova. Platz Nova is the street with the most night spots, you know, so around the outside of it. Platz Nova is a circular brick building. This used to be the slaughterhouse where animals were killed properly to produce kosher meat for the Jewish population. For Jews in Kazimierz and beyond. Now you can buy anything you want. They got everything from ice cream to French fries to you name it, sausage. On the outside, you got books and other things for sale. Historic things, jewelry, books. Later in the day, they'll have even more. Sometimes they have Nazi paraphernalia, which I'll go see if I can find anything here. Not that I would ever buy it. It's very inappropriate to sell it, but they do. Very popular open flea market now, most weekend days. Lots of folks come here for lunch still. Let's see anything interesting for sale on the street at the flea market. This is the guy. I think there's still World War II junk over there, so